Hello guys and gals, animal friends and spirit pals. Welcome to my channel. If you're one of my regular viewers and subscribers, big kiss. Love you guys so much. If you're new here, my name's Mark Atha. I'm a psychic channel and an animal whisperer. That means animals talk to me and I talk back. I've worked as a conscious voice channel for the past 35 years for the nature spirit Pan and for the Tibetan Ascended Master Djwhal Khul. Also was an animal keeper at the LA Zoo for 30 years, where Pan and I worked and talked to and communicated with many hundreds of animals. This video today is one of my animal tale videos, and the title of this one is Gorilla My Dreams. Yep, it's a gorilla tale, and here is his picture. Let me see if I can get it without any glare in it. There he is. He's a beauty. His name is Caesar. He's an adult male lowland gorilla, silverback. He's a beauty. Love him to pieces. He was a beautiful spirit, and I feel so lucky that he was in my life and I got to know him and consider him a buddy and a friend. Okay, today's story about him happened once upon a time, quite a few years ago. At that point in the zoo, I wasn't a regular gorilla keeper, but I had taken care of them enough that the gorillas knew me, and I kind of filled in, some there. And I really connected with the regular gorilla keeper, Jennifer, and I loved the gorillas and really connected to them. Of course, I love all the animals. I've said that over and over. But I did have my special bond with gorillas and great apes in general, and then monkeys. I didn't really expect that I would connect so much with the primates, but I really did, and I loved all of them. Now, the great apes are the gorillas, the orangutans, and the chimpanzees. The ones I connected to the absolute most of those three were the chimpanzees. And I always called them the actors of the rainforest, because they really don't have an emotion or a feeling that they don't just share with you freely and in the moment. I love them. And I had a lot of adventures with the chimpanzees. But I also really like the gorillas. Now, the gorillas are more of a gentle giant, and they're pretty quiet. They don't do a lot of vocalizing. I mean, they will if they have to, but most of the time just their presence is enough. And so they're not big talkers. They're more what I call thinkers. They come across as like meditative, peaceful, beautiful creatures, like all of God's creatures. And then there's the orangutans, who are also very quiet, but they're what I call a little more sneaky Pete's. They always seem to have something on their mind. They're planning something, they're figuring something out, and they're kind of keeping a lid on it. I love those guys too. Anyway, let's talk about Caesar. Now, on this day that I want to share happened to be the same day that I had planned a gift for Christmas for the other zookeepers and the employees at the zoo. I had invited an actress friend of mine to come to the zoo with me after hours, and we were going to put on a presentation of A Christmas Memory by Truman Capote as a gift to the keepers and the employees at the zoo. So it was an after hours thing that my friend Molly and I had put together, and then my friend Susan had agreed to come to the zoo and we'd perform together. Now, just before that started, people were gathering for the performance and everything. I got message that Caesar had an incident and was not doing well, and they had to take him to the health center. We had a health center on the premises. It was away from the main zoo, up at the top of the hill, and he had to have an emergency they had to come down as an emergency and take him. And it's supposed, I wasn't exactly sure of the exactly what happened, but it didn't sound good at all, and his prognosis was not good, and it sounded pretty dire. But of course, I had this presentation to do, and so I couldn't go right up there. I knew his keeper, Jennifer, was up there with him, and I felt like I did need to go see him once my show was over. And I got a message from Pan saying, yeah, it's a good idea to go see him. Anyway, so we did our presentation. It was wonderful. I love that piece. I've done it several times. Um, and it went over really well. And then, as I said my goodbyes and the people, started to go home and everything, I just knew strongly that I needed to go visit Caesar up at the health center. So I stayed at the zoo and went to visit. Again, I got the feeling that I might be able to help him somehow. So I went. Nobody was up there except for him and his keeper Jennifer and the vets. Now, when I saw the vets outside, they told me his prognosis was not good at all, and they expected him not to make it through the night. And it might be a good thing for me to tell him goodbye and say my goodbyes and stuff like that. So didn't really sound good at all. So I go in to see him, and Jennifer's in there with him. He's on a table, unconscious, with all these tubes and everything hooked to him, and he had a machine that was helping him to breathe, so that was pushing his breath, and he didn't seem there at all. He was gone, it seemed. So, I didn't really say anything. I nodded to Jennifer, and then I just went and sat quietly over by myself on a crate over, he was in a cage on a table with all that stuff hooked up to him. And I just sat down and went into a meditative state there for a moment and asked Spirit, how can I be of service? Is there some way I can serve him? And they said yes. So then Pan and I worked on communicating with him and connecting to his soul and his spirit, and he came readily forward and came right up to talk to me. And I usually, well, really all the time when I start a communication session with some animal, I usually start it with greeting them with love and appreciation and how thankful I am to have this relationship with them and that they're here on the earth sharing this experience with me and those kind of things. And then ask if there's some way I could assist him, what's going on, how does he feel, and is he looking at leaving, or is there some way I can help him get better? I said, I'm willing to do whatever your soul wants, help you either way or whatever's for your highest good. And he come through and he said, I don't feel good, but I don't want to go. I'm not planning on leaving. And he said, I can't get in my head. And in my mind's eye, I could see him laying there, but it was like a big foggy mass instead of a head. So it was his body with fog on top of it. And he said, I need to get rid of the fog. I want to get rid of the fog. And Pan said, you can help him in that way by moving the foggy energy. Just concentrate on dissipating it and moving it. And then, of course, my hands always start going immediately when I'm doing something like this with Spirit. And with Pan in particular, he'll use my hands and my breath, etc., to move energy and to create change. And so my hand's going up like crazy. My eyes are closed and I'm focused inwardly and just watching it as it goes. I don't know if Jennifer was paying attention or not. She's really worried about him. She was probably more focused on him than on me sitting in the corner with my eyes closed, waving my hands at nothing. But I did this, and I just kept doing it, um, just like this. I don't know why he's having me do it here. I could probably stop. But I did that for about 10 minutes, or maybe 15. It was around that time, time period of just really working hard. Like my hand was going like crazy, moving, moving, moving. Meantime, I was talking to Caesar, just telling him how much we would love for him to recover and be here at the zoo, and how much so many other people loved him, and what a big difference he had made on the earth by being at the zoo and sharing his life with humans. And the whole time, trying to clear this, or working to clear this energy with Pan. And, after about 10, 12 minutes or so, it started to disappear. That fog started to leave. And in my mind's eye, I could see it going, 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 and clearing, clearing, clearing. And then I could see his head and his face. And then in my mind's eye, he sat up and he said, I'm back in my head. And then right in that moment, as soon as he said that, Caesar sat up on the table with all those things attached to him, and whoa, like with a big old growl, and just sat up and was shaking his head like, oh, and it was pretty exciting. And even though I believe in what I do, I still, surprised that it worked and that he came up and alive in that moment. And, it'd be really hard for you to convince me that what Pan and I had done there didn't make a positive impact. Now, I don't know that the vets would ever say that. I didn't tell them any of that, because that's not really something that was appreciated there at that zoo. And I had to usually work just privately. I would just work with the animals on my own. There were other animal keepers that knew what I did, and certainly if they were having some issue with an animal and they asked me to come work with them, I would. And it wasn't like no one knew, but health doctors in general are very scientific and don't have a lot of belief in that kind of thing. So it's not really something they care to hear about, or at least none that I met. Maybe one in all my 30 years there. But anyway, so that was just kind of between me and him. And I did share it, I believe, with Jennifer, but she can say whether I did or not if she's around somewhere. And so then after that, I felt much better, and I felt so relieved. And Pan said, yeah, he's going to get better. He's back. He'll recover. And I believed him. And I'm not so sure the vets thought that was what was going to happen, but I felt that was what was going to happen. I felt a lot better. I could go home and go to bed and feel happy that I'd followed through, that I went up there, even on my big night. I didn't go out with people to eat after my big performance or my actor friend, because it was just more important for me to go be with Caesar. And that felt good and like the thing I was supposed to do. And then he did recover, came all back to normal. And really from that point on, it was like I was his bestest buddy in the world. Whenever he saw me, he always did that beautiful gorilla purr kind of a noise they make to one another or to someone they love and like, and also to humans that they like. They'll make that little purr noise, and I don't think I can do it, but it's just more of like, and it just makes your heart open, and it just feels so, so great. And every time he would do that to me, it just, my heart would just melt. And I loved him forevermore. After that, I took care of the gorillas quite a bit more. And they were always great with me. And it was a pretty big group. But they always would do what they were supposed to with me. And Jennifer liked that they liked me. So she liked for me to take care of them if she wasn't there. And so I worked with them quite a bit. And Caesar was always my buddy bud. Quite a few years after that, the zoo and its great wisdom, decided to move Caesar to Florida. And personally, I didn't think that was a good idea. And, on my own, I talked to him, because I always talk to him after that, after we made that connection. Like I've told you before, once that connection's made, they don't really close it, and they kind of act as if it's always open, and they know that I know, and so they won't let me get away with pretending I don't after that. And I talked to him, and I didn't think he wanted to go. He just kept saying, no, 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 I don't want to go. But the powers that be at the zoo don't really care, or didn't really care about my opinion. They don't want to hear it. And I'm not even the regular gorilla keepers, and plus they're going to do what they're going to do regardless. If I say I don't think it's going to work out well for this animal, he don't want to go, it doesn't feel right, whatever, it's not going to make any difference. So his keeper didn't want him to go either, but I'll let her speak for herself. This is just my story. And so then he moved, and shortly thereafter he passed away. I think what I got was it was the separation from the other gorillas and from his keeper, who he cared about a lot. And he basically, too much change, unwilling to move forward with it. It was too much stress and change. And I think he was sad and lonely and missed his family and transitioned instead of starting over in a new place. That's my feeling, and it's just my feeling, and what I got from communicating with him before he died. I'm sure others might think differently. I'm sure the zoo wouldn't think that, or the vets perhaps, but that's the way I felt. Anyway, my experience with him was something I'll never forget. He's such a beautiful animal, and so were the other gorillas. I loved so many of them. One named Rapunzel, who loved to flirt with me all the time, and she would bat her eyes and make the little love noise and come sit right by me. And after my experience with Caesar and the healing, his favorite thing then was for me to hold his feet. He never let me hold his feet before, but now it was okay, or his fingers, and he'd make his little happy noise. And a lot of the others, there was one named Zombo, a big boy that I loved, and actually I love, again, everyone, but I had a lot of really close relationships with a lot of the gorillas, and with Caesar in particular. And my life was enriched from that interaction and that relationship. And gorillas need to be on the earth and need to be appreciated and loved by all of us. They're our brothers and sisters. If Source didn't think they were important, they wouldn't be here. And they're part of what makes the world go round. And I hope you guys love them and bless them. I'm going to send some blessing energy to them right now. Caesar and the gorilla energy came around while we were talking about them. Good. Okay, you guys, I hope you liked that story. And until the next time, you guys have a joyful and fun time. Bye-bye.